everything. Intelligence, expertise.
What other doors could they close?
Hey, how much am I willing to give up and commitment and are not committed to the struggle? Acquiescing to the struggle, they're committed.
Careful who you leave toeless.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on that. I hope that everything is going well on your end. As for me, it's business as usual. There's a lot on deck for today and the remainder of this week. I am beyond optimistic about the things that are happening and the work that is being done. It comes at a price, it comes at a cost, but it's worth it. I hope that you are living a life that is fulfilling. And that's extremely important. We live in a world that has us chasing a lot of things that don't have intrinsic value, that don't truly add to our lives, but satisfy some established social norm or standard that says this is what you do in life and this is what equates to success, but we don't find fulfillment, nor do we discover or create happiness for ourselves. And we live a life accumulating things and being miserable. I have made up in my mind that while the building of wealth is necessary to sustain and support the future of my family, it does not equate to my fulfillment, nor does it equate to my happiness. And those things come first. And so it's important to understand those things. And we'll talk about that somewhat moving forward. First of all, I want to bring something to your attention, and then I'm going to talk about something that I initially shared yesterday. I didn't do a video yesterday morning because there was so much going on and I was trying to get a lot of things done. But first and foremost, if you didn't check it out last night, I was a guest on a longtime friend's radio show, Bounce Back with Dr. B. And the topic was confronting and attacking the issue of sex trafficking. And we had a 2-hour show where we went in on the topic from a number of different angles. And then there was another guest on the show who was a survivor. My wife was also there. She participated as well. I posted that, the link to it, so you can watch it in its entirety. Check it out. There was some powerful information shared. There was some powerful stories shared. It's inspiring. It can give hope to people who are dealing with issues and no one knows about it. I encourage everybody to take a look at it. This is an issue we have to take head on and we have to take serious. It's not going anywhere, and we're going to have to establish parameters and protocols that allow us to confront it as a people. So check that out. Also, if you haven't gotten the books, the links are in there. You know the routine, but there's a new thing. We started Mastering Money, the Power Course Mastering Money. It's a year-long course that's going to teach the principles of creating financial independence and ultimately for those who desire financial freedom. And this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. This isn't some magic wand that you can wave over it. It's going to call for a shift in paradigms and thinking. It's going to call for a commitment and a level of discipline in managing your finances and understanding what you're doing that is not helping you and working against you and what you need to do to change. I'm going to, over the course of, this is an entire year. Over the course of the year, there are going to be 2 video courses delivered by yours truly each month. I'm going to invite some other people in who have been successful in establishing certain levels within their own financial world to share with you. I'm going to introduce you to some of the heaviest hitters that came from nothing. I'm going to introduce you to a person that never made more than $14,000 a year, but retired worth 72 million. Another one who never made more than $12 an hour and retired with a net worth close to $1 million and a cash worth of over 500,000. Working as a parking lot attendant, how it was accomplished, what can be done, the power of compound growth, and why it's important to start as early as possible. Just your idea and your focus on money. Some things that will help you generate revenue, the importance of having the right mechanisms in place, and so many other things we're going to define and do. I'm going to bring you into my life, show you some of the things that I've been able to do and accomplish, show you what happened when everything went wrong, and literally everything went wrong, and I was forced to start over, and how I did it. And I definitely didn't take a traditional route of asking anybody for anything. I built it. And I'm not gonna say I built it on my own. I built it. I came up with the ideas, the concept. And for the first couple of years, I put all the work in because I couldn't afford to bring anybody else in. But I rebuilt, and I'm not where I used to be, but I'm in a place that I'm proud to be. It's taking some hard work, and it's still a work in process, but to see where I started when this thing went upside down. And so things happen. We're going to talk about all that. We're also going to look at individual situations and say, okay, this is where you're at. These are your unique issues. This is what you can do about them. And this is for a total of 12 months. And the price is absolutely ridiculous when you think about what my clients pay to work with me directly for a year compared to what it is. So it's $599. So if you're not willing to pay that, you don't even have to go check it out. But the link is in there if you want to check it out and you want to enroll and you're serious about a year-long process of setting goals and changing your life and looking at it from every element and aspect of what has to happen and actually seeing real life results. Because a lot of people say, I can't afford to. You can't afford not to. The worse you are off in your situation, the more you are. It is absolutely necessary that you change your mindset and that you start working on building wealth. It's that you're going to have to change that mindset because the perfect timing isn't coming. The perfect situation isn't coming and probably will get worse. And so you're going to have to understand the importance of building from scratch and making the necessary moves and evaluating risk. One of the things that almost every major investor that I've ever talked to has said is that they function from a place of asymmetric risk reward, meaning that they stand to gain much more than they're risking. And they understand how to play that game, and it's out there. I mean, when it talk about compound interesting alone, investing in a passively managed mutual fund like an index fund, S&P, the Vanguard fund, that historically is producing somewhere around 8.2 up until 9 and sometimes even 10% annually. That's compounded. And you compound over years of putting money into a thing that's consistently producing this. And that's just in one area of investing in the market, but there are so many other things you can do. With me, I'm real big on deployable assets. In other words, creating things that I can create once, put out, and they serve people and they consistently sell. The thing that comes to mind mostly are my books. The other thing that comes to mind are courses that I create in which I don't necessarily have to be present for those courses to be taken. And they're offered on a number of different platforms. And when people sign up for them, they take the course. All I do is get an alert that someone purchased a course. I have no direct thing. Now, there are courses that people can purchase that over the course of taking the course, there are several times that you get to interact with me and all that stuff is on my site. But what I created this for is to introduce anybody who wants to change their financial situation to a way that it can be done no matter where you're at. I do want to make some things clear. This is not a financial management company. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial manager. I'm not going to ever ask you to invest your money as on the basis of this course for me to manage. In other words, take your money, manage. That's not what I'm here. I'm here to say, okay, you're paying to enroll in a course, and I'm going to introduce you to principles that are proven over time to work, regardless of who's using them. and how to use them, how to think, how to approach, how to determine value. We spend a lot on perceived value and very little on actual value, and it shows up in our portfolios. It shows up that we're spending money on things that cannot produce a value, cannot bring a return, and it's hurting us. We live a lot in our feelings and our emotions and our experiences. And there are a lot of people out there in the world of capitalism who are creating these experiences for us because we will spend money on them, but the experience doesn't come with a return. And we have to be careful on how much of our assets we're investing in experiences that don't produce a return. I'm not saying that you don't need to have experiences. You need to enjoy yourself. You need to create these avenues of happiness. And you need to be responsible for your happiness and for your fulfillment. But you've got to also be fiscally responsible. And ultimately, you want to be fiscally potent. So that is what we're going to do. I invite you, if you're really serious about changing your financial status, you're talking about your commitment from yours truly of teaching principles that have worked not only for me, but for every person I know that's successful in business. It's not some, now people have different strategies, but the principles from which they operate are the same. The cost of your earning. No matter what business you're going in, there's going to be a cost. Whether you're investing, whether you're starting a business, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a cost of operation in doing that. What is your cost? You want to know your cost. You want to know your tax liabilities. What are your tax liabilities in capital gains? What are your tax liabilities as a sole proprietor versus a C corp? What, what is your risk reward? What is what are your risk rewards and all of these things? And all of this stuff is going to be explained to you. You're going to learn the 7 steps that are practiced across the board. And you're going to find out that no matter where you start, you can change your life. But what I can guarantee you is if you don't start, your life will never change. That I can guarantee you. So that's that. So click that link, go. The moment that you enroll, you will be forwarded on to the support team who will contact you, get you set up. You'll have an initial consultation with me where we'll discuss where you're at, what you want to do. We'll evaluate, where you are from a mental perspective of how you see money, how you see the world around you. And please understand that there's a difference in what you earn as an employee, because you got a bunch of 6-figure people who are broke. You got people who are generating revenue, may not even reach $70,000, who are independently wealthy. And people don't understand that wealth is not defined by the dollar amount in your bank. Wealth is defined by how you earn the money and can the money sustain the lifestyle that you live. You got people who are happily living common, relaxed, what people will call ordinary lives. 2,000, 2,500 square foot home, reliable vehicle that can be replaced when necessary and kept up, maybe a trip or 2 a year, and whatever else they like to do. And it falls underneath what they're generating, and they're generating what they need without having to have someone give them a job that they can lose. And the more automated that process, the more independent they are. So it's about creating, first of all, multiple streams, but you also want to have a lot of that to where it's passive. In other words, you don't have to be present and someone doesn't have to hire you and pay you to do it. And so all the other stuff you can do, like a lot of stuff I would do if I had $1 billion in reserve. I would still be doing it because it's what I love doing. But but there are a lot of things I've created that I'm good at that I don't necessarily want to be doing all the time, but I've created mechanisms that people can access it without me having to do the work. And we're going to talk about all that. But if you're really serious about changing your life, you need to enroll in that class. I'm going to leave that for that now. Let's talk about escaping the darkness of negative opinions. Earlier today, I posted something that says one of the saddest realities that I deal with in my line of work is meeting people who are in their 40s and 50s and still living their lives based off of opinions of their parents, based off of the realities and the experiences of their parents. It's sad, don't get me wrong. C.D. Wallace and Ernest Lee Wallace were my great-grandparents. They reared me, they loved me. They provided me with a life based on the community I lived in that was better than most of the people that I grew up around. I was grateful for it. They encouraged me to be the best I can be. In fact, demanded it of me. I was not allowed to be average. I was not allowed to be mediocre. I was not allowed to come in with average grades. I had to excel. And my great-grandfather had a second grade education, but he had done some pretty extraordinary things. All things considered, he was born in 1909 and didn't have but a second grade education. He was able to do some pretty extraordinary things. Retire after 30 years as a master welder for Dresser Clark Industries, which is an all-rig builder. Start his own business after retirement. My grandmother owned her own beauty salon for years. I grew up in a beauty salon. So I saw that, and I saw what to do, what not to do. But I am grateful for that. But at the same time, I was never taught by them. Probably the best thing they ever did for me was to teach me to be my own man, teach me to think for myself. I was taught to respect them, but I was taught that I had to learn to make my own decisions, that I had to evaluate the world around me. I had to know who I was and what I was capable of. And I couldn't be confined to the restrictions and opinions of other people, including them. And that was always that. And that's including us, son. You don't allow yourself to be confined and restricted to the opinions of other people. You don't allow the other people to define you. You don't allow the opinions of other people to define you. And that's including us, son. You have to make up in your mind who you are. And you have to take on the world based on who you are. Son, I've done a lot of things that a man from where I come from wasn't expected to do. But that's not your restriction. Where I ended, where I capped out, has nothing to do with you. As a matter of fact, I expect you to do it exceptionally more than I did. And that was how it was placed with me. And that's how I've taken on the world. And that's why I've been able to do a lot of things that most people will not even dream about trying, is because I don't see caps. I don't see restrictions. I've said this many times before, and I'm going to say it again, and it'll probably be something I'll say until I'm done in this world. God, life, the universe meets you at the level of your expectations. It meets you where your expectations set the parameters of how you perform in life. You're never going to get out of life more than what you expect out of it. If you sit up and think that you're going to be poor all your life, you're going to be poor all your life. You think you're going to win and you're going to go out and do something, you're going to find yourself doing some things. You got to set the expectations. You've got to set the expectations from the moment you wake up in the morning, and you've got to consistently have it in your mind and thinking positively despite the situations. This is what I can tell you. At no time in the time that I've done, I've literally started from scratch and owned and operated and brought to profitability from the age of 20 to 21, 47 companies. Some were started, brought to profitability, sold. Others just ran their course, and I got tired of dealing with them because they were taking up time, and I couldn't justify what was being generated versus my time. I'm very aware of what my time is worth at a minimum per hour. And if what I'm doing isn't producing that, there has to be a justification of it. And that can't go on forever. I know what my value is at a minimum per hour. And so a lot of my pricing structures are going to be based on that. And then all of the other factors taken in. But, I've done that. And the reason that I was able to do it is I did not have a cap. I didn't go out and say, I can't. Matter of fact, I can't isn't a part of my vocabulary. And I want to thank Miss Dewberry from Forest Brook High School, who told me that before I ever ended up in her class, which she made happen, probably my sophomore year, she caught me in the hallway, hanging out with a buddy of mine who she deemed was not a good influence. And she pulled me to the side and scolded me about that and told me, son, association brings about assimilation. A whole nother story. Association brings about assimilation, son. You're spending too much time around people who aren't going and are not ready to go where you're going. Be careful. Then she told me, she said, something I want you to just really contemplate right now so that you can understand the magnitude of your potential. She said the word can't will never apply to you. Seeds being dropped. And see, now that here's the thing, I had the ability and the capacity to accept that as truth. I had the ability and the capacity to reject it. I chose to accept it. I started to see life even differently. You know, I already felt pretty confident about what I was capable of doing. You know, physically, I felt good about what I could do in life, but mentally, I knew that was something different. And I knew that that had something to do with my gift. And so I knew it, but when she stood up and she spoke it to me, when she stood up and she told me, hey, the words, the word I can't will never apply to you. Never allow it to be used in reference to you, and you never use it about yourself. Find a way, because if you can think it, you can do it. And I've approached life in that way. And the thing is, I've never allowed the opinions of other people to define my reality. But here's what I can tell you, and I was meaning to get to when I mentioned the companies. There's a lot of things I've done. You know, I was able to do international relocation, logistics, the entertainment industry, counseling, coaching, obviously. First business I ever started was in the world of fitness, Stay Fit Fitness and Training, which is now Master Fitness 21, still going strong 30 years later. And my son is a part of that now. And I'm excited about that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that everything's all gravy, because of the way I'm doing things. I'm not trying to be very fluid right now, because that's the vulnerability I had the last time things went wrong. I was very cash heavy and very fluid, and took some very hard knocks. My stuff stays in my company. I'm building my company. Why? Because they're assets for my family after I'm gone. It's a lot of stuff that has value that they will inherit and know what it's really worth when they get it. You know, but the thing is, I walk at my pace. I dance to the beat of my drum. I answer to myself and those that I have brought into my circle to hold me accountable. My wife, my best friend, Michael Jordan, another very close friend, Clarence Brown, another very close friend, Dr. Michael Blanchard. Those are the people, my little bro, Will Williamson out in Florida. Those are the people that I'm honest and transparent with. They know my world and they hold me accountable. I don't want to be in a world where I'm not accountable, because that leads to arrogance and trouble as well. But what I'm telling you is, in all of this stuff that I've been able to do, there was never a time where there wasn't disappointment. There was never a time where there wasn't frustration. There was never a time where there wasn't some type of setback, delay, and other elements and components of frustration that can happen in life. The difference is I knew I was built for it. The difference is I knew that I could overcome it. The difference is I knew that there was a solution to it. And so, in other words, I'm telling you that this life isn't about finding the road of ease or finding a place of comfort. This is about handling your business. It's about facing life head on and saying, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to turn back. I'm not going to let go. It's about sitting up and saying that I know there's something inside of me that has prepared me for this very moment. I know that there's something inside of me that has gifted and skilled me and equipped me to overcome what I'm facing right now. I know that there's a spiritual connection to the spiritual entity of divinity that is present in this universe, and that because this consciousness and this unlimited conscious mind of God has the answer, and I have the direct connectivity to God or this conscious mind, that there's no thing that I don't have the answer to. And so I can actually become calm in some of the most stressful situations, because I already know the outcome. See, most people are focused on the situation, the circumstance, the problem. Why are you smiling? Because I'm living in the outcome. I'm going through this right now, but I'm living in the outcome. See, when you know the outcome, you start to see that the outcome has a greater reward than the trouble and the stress and the problem and the things you're going through to obtain it. That's how I finish, because I'm already living in the reward. I'm living in the reward. When you can visualize at that level, that's absolutely nothing impossible. When you can visualize at a level where you're literally seeing it, smelling it, tasting it, and walking in it daily. See, we do that to our children too. We rob them of that gift, of that ability that God gave them to just see themselves in places that they're not in, to see themselves as people they haven't yet become, and literally be there at that moment. We start telling them, get your head out of the clouds. Stop all that daydreaming, get focused, come back down, be more realistic. And you're robbing them. You're robbing them of the power to write their narrative. You're robbing them of the power to create an entirely new reality that nobody even thought was possible. The people who have gotten on in this world and done extraordinary things simply walked in something that didn't yet exist because they were able to see it. They're not better than anybody else. They're not better than you. They just refuse to be held in check by someone else's past reality. And that includes parents. I love them to death, but I'm not obligated to walk in the restrictions that held them in check. I am required to take what I saw them do that made them exceptional based off of where they started and say, I can do better. Now, because they did what they did, which was extraordinary, don't get me wrong, I'm able to do what I'm able to do. And my goal is to sit up and literally have my kids sing. There are no boundaries. That's just work. That's just thought processes. That's just things you have to create and overcome. But you're going to have to escape the darkness of negative opinions, of what I call in visionetics, your label givers, your primary label givers, starting with your parents, your early school teachers, clergy, who are declaring you and telling you who you are. And parents and people in these positions, stop referring to these children in any negative tone because you can't see the gift. The gift is there. You don't have a right to take that and snatch that and give your opinion. Dumb, stupid, worthless. How dare you allow that to come out of your mouth? Because I haven't met one worthless, dumb, stupid child. I've met some unique children who saw things differently. I met some unique children who, by social and medical standards, can be classified as suffering from Down syndrome, suffering from autism, even mild mental disabilities. But I still see the gifts. I still see the unbelievable gifts. And there's this discussion going on in the world in which I operate in that I'm a part of and that I'm excited about, even when it comes to high spectrum autism, where kids are seen to have a disability, but there's a school of thought now that what if autism is the next step in the evolution of the brain, to where now people are easily distracted. Because if you know high functioning, high spectrum autism, you know that those kids tend to focus on one thing. They are very, very tunnel visioned. They only want to do what's in their mind to do, but they become very good at it. I mean, math, memory, eidetic memories, painting, music, whatever it is they focus on, they become exceptional at it. All the rest of the stuff. But see, now let's go back and remember, I taught you a lesson not too long, a couple of weeks ago, that in scripture and in holy writing and in historical writing, so it's not just in the Bible, but most people know it from the Bible, says that your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great men. But how many children have been redirected away from their gifts? See, those operating in high spectrum autism are actually functioning in their gifts, and they only focus on their gifts. What if that is the next step in evolution, to where you can't be distracted? You are literally here to do what you're here to do, and you are remarkable at it. There's a guy, and I'll be done with, there's a guy who suffers from high spectrum autism that literally, they put him in a helicopter and they fly him over a skyline of any city. And they give him a whole wall. They put out a canvas over a whole long wall. And he's not only able to remember what he saw, but to scale. And with every minute detail, he paints it from his memory. That's a gift, not a curse. We're defining people based off of social standards, and we're missing the bigger picture. I'm challenging you to be mindful of what gift you have in you and how that gift has equipped you to literally change the world. As I always say, I'm gonna live my life on full, and I challenge you to do the same thing. If you haven't gotten the books, get the books. I really encourage you, if you to enroll in the new Mastering Money year-long program. The link is in there to get signed up. I look forward to working with you guys. Hey, I'm out. From a conceptual perspective, things people talk about desire to be successful. All of the elements they think, intelligence, expertise. Hey, how much am I willing to give up and commitment? And are not committed to the struggle, acquiescing to the struggle, they're committed